today? All right. Well, it is 2:02. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing started. So first and foremost, thank you and welcome to Fix Your Site from Search to Sale, presented by Mojo Media Labs. We again just really want to thank you. We know that you are incredibly busy and there is not a whole lot of time in the week and you're choosing to spend an hour with us. So again, thank you for joining the webinar. And we just want to reiterate, we want to know exactly what you are hoping to get out of today's webinar so that we can ensure you are getting the most value and get the most information that you need so that you can effectively grow your business. So please put that in the chat and let us know exactly what you're hoping to get out of the webinar today. If we don't get to it in the hour that we have, we will follow up and go ahead and make sure that you have the resources that you need to start growing smarter. This webinar was specifically designed to do a couple of things for you. It's going to help you create a search result that will get more visitors to your website. It will help you engage website visitors from the moment they land on the page. It's going to educate website visitors as they scroll down that home page so that they understand why they would need your product or service. It's going to invite qualified website visitors into your buying process. And then lastly, as we review these websites live, we're going to just offer some strategic insight that will help you drive revenue. And they are going to be very simple, easy things that you can implement today. So in order to get the most out of this webinar, there's a couple of things that you can do. The first thing is go ahead and open your website in another tab. What it's going to do is as we review some other websites, you can see and say, I'm doing that too. And I can go ahead and identify the things that you can fix. The next thing is just take some notes. A lot of this is going to be frameworks. It's going to be more conceptual, and there are things that you can easily translate over to your website. The next thing is schedule out an hour tomorrow. Go ahead and make these changes. I know that I've attended so many webinars and I learned so many great things. And I said, man, I cannot wait to implement that. And I never scheduled the time to do it. So if you want to get the most out of today, go ahead and schedule some time. And the last thing is a lot of this webinar, it's a very basic concept. Start with the beginning, walk through the process, identify the gaps, and fix those gaps. Because what you might find is that in your marketing and sales process, there is one step where you're losing a ton of leads, you're losing a ton of customers, or if you're taking an ABM approach, you may lose a ton of engagement from target accounts. And if you were to fix that one step, everything else is fantastic. But you just need to figure out what that one step is and fix that. So go ahead and take this concept and walk through your marketing and sales process so that you can start to drive more revenue. So again, here's what we're going to do today. We are going to help you improve your search result so you can invite more people onto your website. We're going to walk you through what is called the grunt test. So who are you? What do you do? And how do I do business with you? We're going to help you to create customer-focused language. We're going to help you understand your buying process from the eyes of your customer. And lastly, we're going to offer strategic marketing insight based on what we know will work. So you're probably wondering, who are we? And we are all StoryBrand certified guides that work at Mojo Media Labs. So to start with some introductions, Steph, will you go ahead and take it away?
Sure. Thanks, Mason. Hi, everybody. I'm Stephanie Fisher. I am the Director of Client Delivery here at Mojo Media Labs. So I work with a really great creative team. I am a StoryBrand certified guide. And I'm also the co-host of Made You Click, our podcast for marketing directors and sales pros. And fun fact about me is I have 2 pugs. Evan, your turn.
Thanks, Steph. I am also a StoryBrand certified guide, as Mason alluded to earlier, and work on a lot of the content for our wonderful clients here at Mojo Media Labs. A fun fact about me is that I also have 1 pug. So if you're in our Slack channel, there are a lot of client results that we share and a lot of pictures of pugs. So those would be 2 really important things to know about us here at Mojo. Back to you, Mason.
Awesome. Well, to go ahead and continue the theme, I am also a StoryBrand certified guide. I run Mojo's marketing. So I do podcasts and blogs, and really I get to have the most fun because I get to do all the marketing things and figure out what works best and pass those learnings on to our client services team so we can pass those on to our clients. I do not have a pug. I am the odd man out in this group, but I do have a wonderful cat at my house. So without further ado, I know that you are all probably really wanting to get into some websites. So we're actually going to start with a website from a company called Collective. So really, Collective does a lot of things right. And that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with every website on the things that you're doing right. They have very clear calls to action. So we can see that if we want to do business with them, we can work with Collective, we can schedule a call. And in many ways, they actually do lead with a lot of clarity. They are the leading Power BI consulting and strategy firm. I know exactly what they do. I know who they are and I know how to do business with them. If there were anything that I would change about this specific kind of header on their website, I'd make the calls to action the same. So I'd make schedule a call, or I do work with Collective. I think either can work. My preference is going to be schedule a call because I know exactly what that first step into the buying process is. That's leading with a lot of clarity versus where we say work with Collective that could take a lot of different forms. So you want to make that first step into the buying process easily understood and really in some ways a low bar to entry. So work with Collective, kind of a big idea, schedule a call, really small. The other thing is I want to understand a little bit more about how you help me. So versus saying the leading Power BI consulting and strategy firm, it might be streamlining and simplifying your Power Business Intelligence. Again, that's leading with clarity on exactly how you actually help me as a business versus strategic consulting and in the Power Business Intelligence space. Moving down, we really do get into the specific services that they offer. So that's strategy, implementation, and support. If you read through the copy, it really does do a good job of explaining what they do. The biggest things that I would probably change here, or I'd break these out. I'm a big fan of making everything really easily accessible. So I don't necessarily want to have to click on implementation. And it's for whatever reason, not letting me click on implementation and support, which is what you get when you do a live webinar and a live review. So sorry about that, but just know that this honestly may be even more support. I presently can't click on implementation and I cannot click on support. So I want to know what everything is. So if you were to break that out, that would be really helpful for me as a customer trying to understand how you can help me grow my business. The other thing is you want to make all of the language really focused on the customer. So just to pull out one sentence, using our scalable, flexible, and proven methodology, we provide proven best practices and it really focuses on you. Whereas if you were to just change a couple of the words to say, using our scalable, flexible, and proven methodology, you get proven best practices, strategies for analytics planning. And what you've just done is you flip the sentence to be more focused on what the customer gets versus what you offer. It's a small change, but it's customer focused. And it helps me understand as a customer what I'm getting, which is what I'm on your website to find out. As we continue to scroll down, you offer a lot of resources, and this is fantastic. I'd probably just move this to the very bottom because what I look at the homepage as is it's the opportunity to get a customer into a buying process. So I want to have as many scheduled call opportunities more so than I want to have additional resources. Resources are great when you're trying to educate and inform, but I would just put this further down on the page. I really loved this section because what it does is it offers a lot of clarity. Leverage the Microsoft data stack and get results. Every business owner wants to do really about three things. They want to save money, they want to make money, and they want to save time. And what you offer here is we're going to get you results, which translates typically to revenue. So I think that was fantastic. You offer a lot of authority here. If I were to do anything different, I would also add a little bit of what we call empathy. You want to relate to the customer and help them to understand we know the struggles of trying to leverage business intelligence. That's why we are a Microsoft Gold partner that can help you leverage the Microsoft data stack and get results. What you've just done is you said, I understand that it's hard, which is why we exist to help you. The other thing that you may want to do, and I just thought of this, as I scroll down the page, I don't know the specific problem exactly that you're solving for me. I don't know exactly why I would need to do business with you. So really, what you may want to do is before you get into services, before you get into anything else, have this next section that essentially says the problem that your business solves, the reason you exist, and how you help customers thrive. If you can do that, then what you've done is from this header, you've piqued my interest. You make me scroll down a little bit. I relate to the pain. I understand the pain that you solve for because you've made it apparent, and then you've hooked me. And now I want to keep scrolling to understand. I understand this pain. I know what you are trying to solve. How do you help me solve that? And then I love that you've got some reviews. Similar to what I mentioned before, I would break these out. And again, I'm not 100% sure why, but I can't click through to see the other reviews. But that's, in my opinion, even further evidence that you want to have separate little reviews instead of a scroll. I've never been a fan of the scroll. And then lastly, I think it's great that you've got a really simple form. I know that I'm going to get a 15-minute intro call with a Power BI expert, and that's really all I need to know. Final thought, and then I'm going to pass it over to Steph. I would move these logos up. I would put them right here and then have the reviews, because as I look at these logos, these are really powerful logos. I mean, you've got Tesla, you've got Chevron, Solo Cups. I mean, those are fantastic, and those need to be higher. So really, at a quick glance, I just threw a ton of things that you could do a little bit differently, but I want to reiterate, you're doing a lot well. You have very clear calls to action. In many ways, you're very clear with what you offer and what you do. If you were to change up the copy a little bit, change up some of the structure, and add a couple more sections, I think you would start to see more customers engage in a sales conversation. So before we move on to the next website, Steph, Evan, do you have any other thoughts that you wanted to add?
I think you covered it. That was great.
I agree. Very thorough.
Well, Steph, we're going to go ahead and let you review law KPIs. Let me give you remote control and take it away.
Okay. Okay, so law KPIs. First, we're going to go over the grunt test. So the grunt test is, can I tell right away within the first few seconds what this company does, how they're going to help me, and what I need to do business with them. Okay, so law KPIs, I have been on this site before, but I knew, like, the first time I went to the site, I knew exactly what they did, who they're for. They're for law firms, right? So they're working in that space. They've kind of got this tech thing going on. So they're doing analytics focused on profitability. So that's a fairly clear message, right? We know it's some kind of tech platform. They're also very clear about what I'm going to get. So I'm going to be able to improve profits, pricing, customer acquisition, and reduce churn. So I love that. That's very clear. And then how do I do business with them? So there's a couple of different options here, right? So get started today or a free trial. So if I were to change anything about this messaging, just in this hero section, I would once again do more focused, more customer-centric messaging. So this is, it's very, it is not very, I'm not putting the customer as the hero of the story. When I'm reading this, it's just very generic. So analytics focused on profitability. So where am I in this story, right? As the customer, where am I in the story? How is it going to help me improve profits, pricing, and customer acquisition and reduce churn? So I need a little bit more of, like, you're going to be able to do this, or a little bit more story in the messaging here. And that's going to just tweak it just enough to make me feel like you're talking to me as the customer. The other thing I would do would be to choose one or the other, right? So we've got a free trial, and we also can get started today. So when I go through, both of these land on a page that is, they're very similar. They almost look identical. So start my free trial. It's a nice form there. Get started today goes to basically the same page. So that was kind of a note that made me think, well, what's the difference between getting started and doing a free trial? I have to fill out basically the same form. So that was one thing that I thought we could change there. The other thing is, this is the prime real estate up here in your navigation. And so you always want to have the same direct call to action up here, so that everywhere you go on the website, you're going to have that direct call to action that buy now button. So I would choose, if you're going to go with free trial or get started today, I would have the exact same call to action up here. The other thing I really liked and I wanted to point out here is that you've got a nice moving background with people who are happy. And that is very key, especially for a tech company. Sometimes you don't see enough people, happy, smiling faces. And that it really goes a long way to see that kind of imagery, because it just gives you a good feeling about the company. So as you go down, there are some great sections here as well. So this is all about value, what we're going to get in the product. We have a nice transitional call to action here. So we're able to capture people's email address and get them into the funnel if they're not quite ready to buy right now. Some great descriptions of the product as we go down. Tells us a little bit more about what we're going to get. We have a great testimonial, and the only thing I would change about the testimonial is they're very long and hard to read. So maybe try to have a summary or something a little shorter so that you can see kind of the summary at a glance, and that would be a little easier to read. And then as I'm trying to scroll down, I don't know if it's, there we go. I would agree that with Mason's last note on the last website, that it's really important to have this authority up a little higher. So I would probably move this up a little higher on the page, just to get those logos in front of people and not shove them all the way down to the end of the page. So those are my notes. I feel like this website is doing a really good job at a lot of things, and just with a few minor changes, that's going to help you guys get over just make it that much better. Mason, Evan, any notes from you guys?
Really,
I loved that value section. I posted that in the comments. I thought it was really strong. It was scannable. It was easy to read. The white space was really well used. So I love that section.
yeah, just to talk about things that I thought went really, really well. You guys have got some really fantastic design elements that are really engaging, that really capture my eye, and then lead me to actually read the text. Something I should have mentioned on the last one, but when we talk about the actual search result, you're going to spend a lot of time working on the copy of your header. I am also a gigantic fan of what we call content repurposing. So you took a ton of time to get a really fantastic header. Use that same copy in your meta description so that when people are looking at your Google search result, they'll actually get the same message from the Google search result to their homepage. And something that we all hear a lot of StoryBrand certified guides is marketing is an exercise in memorization. So it's okay to use the same language in your marketing messages. So that was just something that across the board, as we look at all these different websites, whatever you use is your header. Try to also make that the meta description. And also meta descriptions need to be about 160 characters. So keep it within those parameters. So use header language and 160 characters. That was all I had. That's
great. Yeah, I know we're gonna show an example at the end of what that, an ideal kind of search result looks like. So yeah, we'll be able to speak a little more to that. All right, well, back to you, Mason.
Awesome. So what we've got next is a company called Shoes for Crews, and Evan is going to take that one. So let's give you remote access, and there you are. So Evan, take it away.
Perfect. Let's go and pull up our site here. Here we go. So for Shoes for Crews, Mason, we had talked about them having two different websites, correct? Yes. And the first thing that I really saw in this is if you're going to go the strategy of having two separate websites, where one is exclusively focused on B2B, it's really important with design and copy to fully lean into your niche audience. We talk about this a lot with StoryBrand. I think Lindsay in the comments had mentioned she's a huge Don Miller and StoryBrand fan. And we want to make sure that everyone knows that B2B and even complex B2B systems can still use that framework. Even in this case, I would say if you're going the route of 2 separate websites, lean into messaging, approach, and styles that really communicate to that audience so that throughout the entire story of your website, especially on the homepage, you're calling them to the right action. So if we're talking about this homepage from the very get-go, what I love is that we have a prominent spot like we've talked about before for a call to action that's even a separate color. It's very easily identified when my eye is scrolling from left to right and on down through the page. As you've mentioned before, Steph and Mason, I would love to see this same call to action reposited throughout the rest of the site. And it wasn't exactly clear to me up front about open a corporate account today in terms of what that was getting me. A direct call to action that is really easy to execute on is schedule a call or start a conversation. But sometimes that feels a little bit more B2C. And so B2B folks are trying to figure out, okay, what does that look like today? So if we're going to start with open a corporate account, it's really important throughout the rest of the homepage to identify and describe what that looks like, to be able to give some colorful language around this is the value for getting that. This is what we're going to do. So if we're walking through this, oh, and I see the comments here, SFC Safety is the B2B corporate website for Shoes for Crews. So I appreciate you guys giving some clarity to that. When we're walking through this homepage, what immediately stuck out to me is I love this H2 subsequent description of Shoes for Crews equips small and enterprise businesses with turnkey managed protective footwear solutions proven to reduce slip and falls while protecting your bottom line. Now, I think there probably are ways that we could condense that copy just a little bit, but it was very clear and evident to me that, okay, this is what I'm getting and this is why you're offering. On the flip side, I would optimize this H1 or main header because trusted business solutions for optimal workplace safety could be a wide variety of things. And think about taking my pug to the groomer, and that is a workplace area where we want to have safety. And this is probably not shoes for pugs. And so in my instance of first hopping on this website, I want to make sure that I know exactly who my audience is. And it's very clear to me farther down the site when I see testimonials from Chick-fil-A and I see imagery here, but I would love to be able to complement that copy with a supporting section that showcases, okay, this is exactly the aspirational focus of this website. As we're going a little bit farther down, I love that we've got a fairly condensed header here. There's probably ways that we could make that even shorter in terms of having 3 or maybe 4 key header links in the top, but I love that we don't have 17 or 18. I've seen so many websites where the drop-down menus and the main navigation is so complex and hard to figure out where to go. So I love that that is simplified. If we're going to go a little bit farther down the site, and
I don't think
Lisa,
that, yeah, you're not going down the site. It's not scrolling.
there we go. I think there was a lag with Zoom. As we hit the About Us section, I love that there's a complement between the copy that is used and the imagery over here. Oftentimes when we're scrolling a website, I do it all the time, especially on my phone. I am not reading every section, and I would love to tell you that your customers and clients are, but the reality is they're not. And so if you can combine the same copy here with imagery that says, okay, we've been in business for a long time, or we've served this many companies, it's checking a box for the reader. Oftentimes what we think is that everyone's reading every minute detail, but the reality is folks are looking and scanning for the things they need most, clicking on that or navigating away. When we get a little bit farther down, the learn more call to action button here is probably not my favorite. There are instances where I think learn more can be a valuable call to action, but in this case, I would love to see it be a little bit more specific. It could be learn more about us. If you really wanted to go that direction, even something to make sure that I know I'm learning more about what is the specific answer here. When we're going a little bit farther down, I'd love to talk just a minute about imagery on this site. Steph had talked about happy smiling faces on that previous site. And I love that I could see individual images of some of the shoes when you go from page to page. Ironically, there's not one photo that I could find on this website of people actually wearing your shoes. So I would love to see happy smiling people who are loving their job wearing your shoes in some place. It may not have to be in every single instance, but it would be really great to see your product in action and people excited about using them. If we go a little bit farther down here, I love that we're using safety resources. When I jumped in, because I did look at a lot of the resources on the specific resource page, I felt like the pain points that you guys are solving became a little bit more evident. You can even see it here in the headline here, friction in the kitchen. There were some very unique headlines that grabbed my attention and the resource page that I didn't find here on the homepage. I actually don't know the problems that you're solving for readers beyond the fact that you're helping them not slip. I would love to feel the pain point more. And it feels counterintuitive at times when we talk with clients. They're like, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I don't want to list too many problems. And there is a healthy balance there. But on this site specifically, I would love to hear more of we do this because there are too many workplace injuries, or people are on their feet all day serving in the kitchen and they need blank. Like, I think there's a way to set up the pain point that your audience is feeling, even in complex B2B, in a way that's really going to help them resonate and say, I need that. And that's what a pain point is designed to do in the story. If we get a little bit farther down, let's get started is our call to action for the anchor section here at the bottom of the site. And I think that can be optimized. If we really want to have a simplistic call to action, we need to make sure that we're at least showcasing the value of what they're going to get. In a previous site that we registered and show up here, it was what, a 15-minute consultation, Mason, I think. So if there's a way to quantify that value, that's helpful. But I did see a little bit of a disconnect. If you go back up to the top of the page, open a corporate account is used here at the very beginning and is not listed anywhere else. And if corporate account is the thing that we want them to do, it probably should be prominent throughout the page and might even need to be, depending on your business model, your main call to action here if you're not going to use a lead generating asset. What we often use in the StoryBrand framework is a process plan, which is usually a 1, 2, 3, or even a 4-step plan. This site could absolutely benefit from a process plan because I'm not sure what I'm getting with a corporate account. I'm sure there's tons of value associated with it, but I would love to know step 1 is get the count. Step 2 is get all of these valuable things from you. And step 3 is I see some sort of success come about as a result. So ultimately, I think there's a lot of great things happening. This would be a perfect place to have people wearing shoes, being happy at their job. And then one last thing that did come to mind, the shop functionality here leads to a separate site, which is presumably the second site. So it's very apparent to me that we can shop for all of these shoes. And it was very cool. I love looking at all the models. It was a lot of fun. But it was really apparent to me that on that website, I get shoes. On this website, signing up for the corporate account feels like a longer road to get shoes. And I want to make sure in the copy and the visuals that we're giving folks a clear path to get what they want, which is shoes for their team. So I think there could be a way to bridge that gap just a little bit. And I love the footer here. There's lots of potential by having all of these resources linked. So those would be my main things. Overall, so many great things happening on the site and some easy ways to optimize that would require an entire site rebuild. Mason, Steph, anything else you guys wanted to add for the site?
I just wanted to echo the note about imagery, because when I land on this site and I see kitchen, a hot kitchen there, that there's not a tie-in with shoes. And I think just with a little tweak on that image, it's going to be more clear, especially if you, update the messaging in the headline. But other than that, totally agree with you, Evan.
Yep, that's a great point.
I also just want to reiterate the plan section. Steph and I didn't mention that in the other sites, but really every website should have a 3-step plan that invites customers into their sales process.
I completely agree. Mason, let me navigate back to your presentation here so you can take it away for our next step.
Yeah, so so sorry, we jumped ahead a little bit, but we are giving you a ton of information that you can actually go ahead and implement today. But if you are looking for a truly comprehensive guide to improving your website, next week we are going to send you a link to the website audit kit. So that's going to include 7 foundational questions you should be asking about your website, a very practical and tactical website checklist that you can walk through to identify our website is doing this or our website is not doing this. If you get to a point where you look at your website and you say, man, we really do need to overhaul our entire website, we actually walk through 4 different approaches that you can take to a website overhaul. You also get a section that walks you through, in many ways, using my own experience being brand side as a marketing director within the tech space, how to have those conversations to secure additional budget for a website project. And really all of that is actually free to you. So if you just go to the link that we're going to send you next week, you don't have to give us an email. You don't have to fill out any kind of a form. It's just all of that content is going to be available for you to read. You will also notice there are a couple forms on that page. And if you were to fill out the form, what you would get is 14 daily videos that actually walk you through the content and give you a behind the scenes look at the Mojo Media Labs website and marketing automation. You also are going to get a free technical SEO audit that's going to scan the first 25 pages of your website to identify the potential areas of improvement. And you're also going to get a downloadable PDF and interactive version of that content so that if you're like me and you like to make a lot of notes, you can print it off, you can check the boxes, and it's going to be a huge help as you look at potentially improving your website from start to finish. So again, you don't have to do anything. Just check your email next week and we'll send that your way. So continuing to review more websites, Steph, you have got Halo Health. So let's give you the control, and Steph, take it away.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so continuing the theme of the cloud-based SaaS solution, I think Mason, you gave me 2 of those, so that's great. I love the continuity there. So we land on halohealth.com, and right away, I can tell this is for people in the healthcare space. So that's great, super clear. It helps that health is in the name of the branded keyword here. Also, the homepage messaging is the clinical collaboration platform. So I know right away it is a platform for clinical collaboration, right? So that is great. That's super clear. It's probably a great branded keyword to have in your H1 for SEO. That's wonderful. We've got a video, which I did watch as well, which kind of sets up the problem that healthcare providers have with communication and collaboration across multiple, buildings and practices. So that helped to explain the problem to me when I watched that video. A note here about the messaging. It's kind of a similar message to note on the last one that I did, but just creating that story where the customer is right front and center, using you language, your collaboration platform for working with everyone on your team or something like that, so that it really places the user, the customer in the center of the story. So another thing that I would do with this homepage for the grunt test, right? How do we buy, or how do we engage with you? Request a demo. You guys have done a great job with request a demo right here, request a demo right here. So both of the the prime real estate is your direct call to action. Wonderful. And that's also reiterated right here. One small change would just be to make this button orange. So it's a contrasting color, it stands out, and then there's continuity between these 2 buttons. As we go down, we also see a little bit more about what the platform does and how it works. So it's cost-effective, comprehensive solution. We're going to streamline workflows and communication and give you expanded network so you can share schedules and communication. So it tells me a little bit more about it. That's great. I loved this video so much. It is, if you guys go to halohealth.com, watch this video because it's a great use of a client testimonial. They took basically a phone call with Amanda Nash, their client, and kind of made a little animated video over just the low tech, phone recording. So it's very authentic, and it really fleshes out the problem and the solution that you provide with the platform. So very well done. Um, as we go down, I love starting to see more imagery of people in the healthcare settings, right? So we didn't get that at the top of the page because we have the video here. So we don't start seeing happy people in the environment that they're working in until a little bit later on. So that might be a change to think about in the hero section of your website. Wonderful use of authority here with the client logos that you work with. Again, these could be moved up a little higher up over the testimonial section so that it's paired with the testimonial. So you have, kind of all your authority messaging together. As we go down, excuse me, again, more happy faces. This is wonderful. Like, this is really good imagery. It's kind of getting into these stories of how you are here to help improve patient care. So it's getting a little more, you're putting the healthcare professionals a little bit more in the hero, part of the story. And so that's really good. We have a great short little quote here, which is nice and easy to read in case people didn't, watch the whole video up above. Resources. This is a great section and a great location on the homepage to have resources like this. And then I love the final call to action section because of, again, we've got happy doctors, support staff, and then request a demo was really easy to get to. So you guys are doing so many things well. I really like the junk drawer. We call that the junk drawer footer that kind of gives people, more at a glance where else they can go on the page. And you've kept your top navigation super clean and easy to read. It's not too cluttered up there. So those were my main points. The request a demo, I did go through and fill out the form, and I got a nice little follow-up email. The only thing that I would change, and this goes back to the process, the simple, clear 3-step process that we were talking about. In my experience, we work a lot with tech companies, with healthcare companies, healthcare tech companies, right? So one thing that I notice across the board with these kind of websites and with B2B in general, more generally, is most of these companies do not have a clear 3-step plan, right? So we think, working with us is actually, it's not 3 steps, it's actually 15 steps in our process. And, it's pretty complicated. So I always like to, encourage people to have a 3-step plan because it really gives your user, just that confidence to know what's going to happen after I request a demo. I don't know, at this point, it doesn't really say what's going to happen after I do this, except that someone's going to reach out to me. But what would be great is to say, request a demo, then, we do a custom onboarding and set up your platform. And then step 3 is, successfully collaborating with everyone on your team. So that is just one more thing to make the sales process really clear to your customers on that 3-step plan. All right, Evan, Mason, anything that I left out?
No, really solid there. I would just add that in using story for your website like this, it's very easy, as you mentioned, to want to have more than 3 steps, but just equate it back to a movie. your movie is the equivalent of working and engaging with you long term. The 90-second commercial that your kids love to watch to get them to want to see the movie is like your 3-step plan. And so if you can keep moving between those two, it's just to entice them to want to engage with you further. So I think that's a fantastic observation.
Evan, I really love that analogy. And if I may just add one quick thing, I didn't see a problem section. So they do, I also watched the video. They do a fantastic job of actually talking through the problem in the video. And my wife is actually a nurse. So I understand, because some days, essentially the problem that they face is there's constantly changing medical staff to serve the same patients. So what this software does is ensures that instead of to an individual, it's based on the role. So the communication goes to the role assigned to the patient. My wife will sometimes take an hour and a half to get home, longer than she should, because there's a lack of communication across the hospital onto who's actually helping the next patient or who is supposed to be there. It's a huge problem. And I'd really love if my wife could come home about an hour and a half earlier. So simply put, it's a huge problem. You do a great job of already identifying it in the video. I would just add the section to walk through the problem itself right underneath this header. And if you did that, I think you'd, again, hook more people and actually get them to take that first step into the buying process.
Yep. That's another thing that we see across the board with our clients is the problem is not clearly identified. And I think that's because they're either not sure how to paint the problem in not such a negative way. And you said it perfectly, I think in the last review, Mason, was that you can set up the problem and immediately provide kind of the solution in a way that is not just all negative and all of the terrible things that are going wrong. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to just agitate that problem with your clients. So they're feeling that pain. When you identify that pain and that problem that they're having, they will recognize that right away. Like, oh yeah, they get me. They understand what the problem is.
For sure.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Evan is going to take the Nelson brothers. I'm honestly really excited for this. Evan, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Let me jump in here. I think this is our one. And I have to say, my son, who's 6, is going to be very excited to hear about this later because he loves cars and things that explode. So this is going to be a highlight of his day when we talk about this later. As discussed in every other website, there's so many good things that I think we can simply optimize. I think that would probably be a theme for this entire webinar, is not a full scale change of everything and throwing everything out the window, but finding ways to optimize. So for example, if we're going to walk through Nelson Brothers, looking at this main navigation, this is colored, as we've mentioned before, in a way that draws my eye to it, but it's the search bar. I think a search bar is an important functionality on many websites, but I would love to see a specific and direct call to action. Contact us is a sort of passive call to action that is not necessarily negative, but doesn't have quite the same force as contact us today, schedule a call, start with a conversation. There needs to be some way that ties to the brand's personality, voice, and tone, and comes through in a way that says, if I want to start, that's what I do. If we're looking at the main header above the fold for this website, a few things pop out to me. Again, I love powering your success together through comprehensive blasting programs. I have no idea what a blasting program is, but I need one. So if you want to contact me, let me know. Quality commercial explosive products and technical expertise. I love that we're quantifying and qualifying what you offer. Power through partnership doesn't quite exemplify that same sort of aspirational identity. I would suggest maybe adjusting this main header copy to point to ultimate success or showcase what they're going to get as a result of working with you. If we're going to go through imagery for a second, I really think that this is a nice image. I would love to maybe see some sort of active involvement in the imagery. If we can show some sort of action here, especially because of the kind of work that you do, I think that'd be really powerful. I don't know if that is an explosion in real time, if that is people actively working, even if it was a different shot where you can showcase that people are driving one of these rigs or pieces of equipment, some way to showcase and convey action, I think could really bring some value here. As we go a little bit farther down the site, we're talking about our philosophy. Let me get a little farther down here. There we go. I like that we're talking about your philosophy, because one of the 3 problems that we want to address for folks is the philosophical problem or the mission that you exist to help people with, or the problem that you solve. I'm just not sure that this is the right place on your homepage to do that. I would love to see us institute a little bit more problem and solution language here, or even raise the stakes. I am not an expert in your field, but I can guarantee you that there are a number of stakes involved with doing any kind of this work. Our philosophy starts to feel a little bit more like core values and maybe what could live on an about page. So a lot of times it's not that you don't want this copy on your site, it's just where it's located. If we go a little bit farther down, value added services. I love the combination of iconography and the ability to see, okay, we're talking about innovation or distribution or blasting services. That is super clear to me. The one part that I might optimize is if you go a little bit farther down, we have value added services, our values, and then services offered. And so there may be a unique reason why those 2 are not together, but as the reader and someone who doesn't know exactly what you do from the get-go, it felt like those 2 sections either needed to be together, or that maybe some of that could live on a services page. Services offered is a slightly different interface. So from a technical standpoint, I would love to maybe see some consistency between the above section and the section here to be able to make those really flow together well. Again, that icon paired with a brief description was really powerful. And you do that again really well here. Like, again, I'm probably even going to say emulsion wrong. Like, that might not be the appropriate, but I love that there's action conveyed in this image. And I love that we've got a specific image to go with each one of these sections here. If we go a little bit farther down, why choose Nelson Brothers? This was one of my favorite sections on the entire homepage. Power partnership, a leader in emulsion and explosives, service and expertise, and innovators in the industry. There is supporting copy below each one. Again, to the earlier point, I would recommend taking a lot of it that is me focused and transitioning it simply to being more you focused. It introduced that problem, but I love that we've got this here based on the current layout. If we were just going to reorder and shuffle sections on the homepage, I would probably push this a little bit farther up the homepage because I think it's really powerful. You've also got a couple of logos here with industry affiliations and certifications. I would recommend maybe adjusting this, because if this is supposed to be a prominent piece of authority, it may require a header image, or you might want to pair it next to a testimonial, as we've mentioned before. If we're getting a little bit farther down, contact us is consistent with the header up here, but I would love to see some sort of specific call to action that showcases value. In some cases, depending on your marketing and business strategy, a lead generation offer might be an appropriate use of this anchor text space as well. Sometimes what we'll see is that a use of this space along with a pop-up, like an intent to exit pop-up, can really help make sure that if folks don't want to take the initial direct step with you, they can still get on your email list by finding out more about you and getting that value. And so that's part of that marketing strategy that we work with for each client. But I would say this is a prime space of real estate as people are scrolling. We want to make sure that we're using best use out of that. And I do like that our footer has a ton of items in that area we affectionately call the junk drawer. I would love to see this continue to be a part of the website, because it's going to be really powerful when people scroll all the way to the bottom. And a quick tip, get data sheets here. A lot of times something as simple as that resource could be repurposed into your lead generation tool here with just some slight modification. So it's not always that you have to create something brand new. It's repurposing resources that you already have. Overall, really good things happening on this website with some areas to optimize as well. Back to you, Mason and Steph.
I know that we're running, near time, but one thing I like to point out, and this is just something I like to point out with every website that I get to work on. If you scroll back up, there's a section that says "Why choose Nelson Brothers." Use that heading. That heading, begs the question, well, why indeed, right? Choose Nelson Brothers to help you do X, right? That's another way of having the same thing, but you're adding more context and more value rather than just the open question. And that goes for like a lot of people like to do our mission, our philosophy as a header. Like, go ahead and answer the question there. Our mission is to do this, or our philosophy is to help you do this. That way, that's in the header language and it's prominent. You're not wasting the space there.
Absolutely agree.
Fantastic. Well, we were hoping to get to 2 more websites, but since we're coming up on time, what I want to do before we hop into an example website that Steph is going to walk us through is I want to give you essentially the 5 key takeaways that I've been writing down as we've gone through all these different websites. So the first thing is, again, make sure you've got a meta description that actually is reflective of that header language. You're going to take a ton of time to get that header language down. Just repurpose it. It's going to invite customers onto your site, and it's going to ensure that when they click on, they're getting the same thing. They're getting exactly what they expected, because that's why they clicked on the site. So that's the first thing. The second thing, talk about the problem that you solve. I don't think we've seen a single website that actually has a problem section and identifies, here's the problem we solve for our customers, and here's why you would want to buy from us. The next thing is have a plan. Give a 3-step clear plan. Again, I don't think a single website said you do this, then you do this, then you do this. And again, it doesn't have to be really complicated. The plan on our website is you talk, we listen. That's step 1. Step 2 is we bring your plan to life. Step 3 is you start growing. It's that simple. And if you're a business owner looking to partner with a marketing agency, you want to have an agency that's going to listen, that's going to make a plan, and it's going to help you grow. That's all you want, those 3 things. The fourth thing is, again, empathy. And it's weird to think about empathy and explosives, but if you can actually be empathetic, because I'll put it this way. If explosives go wrong, it's really wrong. And to be empathetic and to say, we understand some of the stressors that might come with a blasting program. That's why we have all these different certifications to identify safety above all else. And then the 5th thing is have a call to action that is representative of the first step in your buying process. So if you did those 5 things, you would start to see revenue increase because you have engaged with a great search result. You've identified what problem you solve. You're inviting the customer by saying you understand the problems that they are facing. You give them the 3-step plan to take action, and then you invite them to actually take action through your calls to action. And if you'd like to see a prime example of what this functionally looks like, Steph is going to walk us through a website that we launched probably 2-3 weeks ago. That is absolutely fantastic. So we're going to start with their search results. So Steph, go ahead and take it away.
Right. So this website, Hogan Taylor, is very fresh. They are CPAs and advisors who care about your business with expertise to help you solve your biggest challenges. HoganTaylor.com. It's a very clear, succinct meta description here is where you put that in your homepage. And then when we click into the website, so exactly what you said, Mason, they use the same, we use the same language, the same messaging. CPAs and advisors is the main keyword too. So that translates to the search result. So with Hogan Taylor, we went through the whole brand messaging workshop. We clarified their message, and we did all of that. And then we did the website redesign as well. So we've got talk to an expert. We've got a very clear value or success, what success looks like if you work with Hogan Taylor. We have the problem section right here. Business owners want more time for what matters most. Their complex business problems, All of these things demand attention every day, and it's a full-time job putting out fires. So you need Hogan Taylor, right? You need more time to grow your business. Scrolling down, these are the different service lines. Caring about your business. This is the empathy and authority section for, we care about your business. We repeat the talk to an expert direct call to action throughout. We've got a nice little testimonial here with a video, the 3-step plan. So talk to an expert, we take your business to heart, and then you're going to move forward with confidence. It's very clear what you need to do. You can explore careers. Then we have the resources, and every page ends with talk to an expert form. So that is that's the website example. Is that everything, Mason?
I think that is it.
Okay.
So Steph, thank you for walking us through that. And again, we just walked through a ton, but realistically, if you were to implement those 5 things tomorrow, you would start to see an increase in revenue on your website. If you were looking for a more comprehensive guide as to some ways that you can improve your website, just keep an eye on your inbox next week. You'll get an email from our wonderful growth consultant, whose name is Nicole Fraser. Nicole will send you a comprehensive website audit kit that has 7 foundational questions you should be asking about your website, a website audit checklist. It's got 4 different approaches to actually improving and overhauling your website. It's got the ways that you can approach a budget conversation. When we talk about budget, it may not be money. It might be the time that you need internally to actually get these things done. And then lastly, that's all for free. I mean, you don't have to give us a form. That's just content that's readily available for you to consume. If you want an additional 14-day video series, a technical SEO audit, and a downloadable checklist, then you can fill out the forms on those sites and get even more helpful content that's going to walk you through exactly what you need to do to improve your website and start making more money. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me at mason.cosby@mojomedialabs.com. And if you did not have your website reviewed today and you didn't submit it for review, if you will email me with the subject line, "I want a website review," tomorrow I'm going to review every website that has been submitted so that you can get actionable insight for your specific website. So again, we hope that this webinar was incredibly helpful. Evan, Steph, do you have any closing thoughts before we go ahead and end the webinar?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you for submitting your websites. This was really fun. Let us know what we could do to improve. We might do this again. If you guys would, want to do this again, let us know. And, let us know what we can do to improve for next time. Thanks so much.
I think you covered it, Steph. We appreciate everybody's time, and we look forward to hearing from you soon and getting everybody's website reviews out.
Awesome. Thank y'all. And here's to making better websites that make you money. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.